This guide has been inspected and approved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is Sunsfan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Ursa. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Ursa is an agility hero who can tear through just about anything in short, successive bursts. He is most commonly used as a jungler and is best known as the ultimate Roshan killer. Skill build. Generally speaking, skilling Ursa is very straightforward. In this build, maxing Fury Swipes by 7 is needed. This is where the majority of your damage comes from throughout the entire game. Overpower is the second skill you'll max, which of course synergizes directly with Fury Swipes, therefore allowing you to deal tons of damage in a short amount of time. Be sure to get your ultimate in Rage at the standard 6, 11, and 16. This of course means leveling Earthshock last. One of the main reasons for this is you don't really have the mana capacity to support Earthshock early in the game. Usually your item builds make up for not having Earthshock early. Well, that and your team having sufficient slows and stuns. Item build. Starting items for Ursa include a stout shield, some regeneration to go along with iron branches. Boots of choice for Ursa are almost always phase. Some people prefer treads since it will provide some attack speed while overpower is not activated, and the health you gain from strength treads synergizes nicely with your ulti. But the biggest issue for Ursa is catching up to people, which is why phase boots are completely crucial. It should come as no secret that your goal is to kill Roshan at an early stage. To do this, you'll need Vlads at your earliest convenience. After that's purchased, you'll need some sort of initiation. Some players like to get Shadowblade because it provides you easy initiation and will more commonly than not give you a good opportunity to demolish the face of some innocent bystander. But the overwhelming favorite for initiation is a Blink Dagger, which has a little bit more utility while cutting down on the gimmicky nature of a Shadowblade. After this, what you'll need in just about every single game is a BKB. Let's just say that Ursa becomes quite prone to crowd control, which is why a BKB will come in handy. After this, your choices open up quite a bit and additional items can be considered a luxury. A Basher into Abyssal Blade could be looked at for a little bit of stun action, while a Heart is great for overall tankability, which of course makes you deal a lot more damage thanks to your ulti. Don't count out an Assault Cuirass either, depending on the physical damage coming from the opposing team. Lastly, believe it or not, a Scythe of Vice is a viable pickup since enemies getting away with barely any HP can become commonplace. Gameplay. Remember that Ursa is most commonly played as a jungler, but can do fine in lane as well. And as we've mentioned time and time again, it's all about getting Roshan. Technically, you could do Roshan at level 1 with some help from your team, but more commonly you'll wait until you've purchased a Vlad's in order to solo. By soloing Roshan, you'll get all the experience, which will give you a huge boost. The enemy may know your trick, so be prepared to purchase a Smoke of Deceit so you can defile Roshan in peace. Once you're finished with him, get your phase boots as fast as possible and start ganking relentlessly. Let me make a brief mention of Earthshock and its uses. A lot of times when playing Ursa, you'll feel like a little kid who can't quite reach the cookie jar. This is where Earthshock comes in. As long as you can get in position to land it properly, it'll provide you a 4-second window to pound on enemies. But as we mentioned, it does take away some precious mana from you in the early stages, so you'll have to rely on your teammates to disable or slow whoever you choose to target. Overpower is why people consider Ursa a burst damage hero, which is funny because burst damage in its traditional sense is almost always magical damage. But of course, Overpower wouldn't be nearly as useful if it weren't for Fury Swipes, which you have to remember is an attack modifier. When taking advantage of Fury Swipes and its ridiculous stacking damage, keep in mind that the debuff will last for 6 seconds on an enemy. This means as long as you hit the enemy once every 6 seconds, it will continue to stack. And lastly, we come to Enrage, which kinda makes Ursa feel like a strength hero to many people. What it really boils down to is the more HP you have, the more damage you'll do. If he were a strength hero, then this would be totally rigged, which is probably why he is in fact agility. But regardless of his class, you'll still build him as if he were of the strength persuasion. Getting into teamfights, there isn't much to go over other than choosing your targets wisely. As long as you have a BKB, you shouldn't feel too worried about dying at a rapid pace. This should allow you to have your pick of the enemy litter, but choose very wisely. Ursa is great against strength heroes in particular, but at the end of the day what you don't want is to be running around like a chicken with its head cut off in battle. Choose someone who is both important and that you can actually take out. Ursa is certainly a carry, but very simple items such as a Force Staff, Ghost Scepter, Scythe of Ice, or Yules will absolutely counter you to a high degree. This is probably why Ursa is so much more successful in pubs and competitive games, because let's be honest, pub players usually aren't willing to buy utility items to counter heroes like this. One last note is BKB usage. Depending on the lineups, Ursa's survivability in teamfights can be completely dependent on how long the BKB lasts. So use your charges as judiciously as possible, because once you have a constant 5-second BKB, all bets are off, and those CC spells and items will start haunting your dreams. Friends and foes. Friends of our hibernating cuddly bear of a hero are those with long disables that provide ample time for Ursa to pound away. Examples of this include Shadow Shaman, Enigma, and Lion. One special note has to go out to Omni Knight, whose Repel and Degen aura are an absolute godsend. Counters to Ursa in the hero department are disables and slows, which would include just about every hero in the game. But if you want to get a little bit more specific, then you have to include heroes that can disable or slow through BKB. Examples of this include Bane with his Fiend's Grip, or Viper with his Viper Strike. Another hero that really annoys Ursa is Furion with his Sprout. There's nothing funnier than watching an Ursa run around the sprouted trees looking for a way out. In the item department, aside from the ones we've already mentioned previously, you'll also have to include a Diffusal Blade, which purge ability will really hamper your style, as well as opposing Blade Mail, since your auto attacks really do hurt. Thanks for watching, guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a big thanks to Flawless and Luminous who helped create this guide. You can check them out at their YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. Also be sure to check out our website at dotacinema.com and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/dotacinema.